Hello, everyone. My name is Maurice Hamilton. I want to welcome everyone back to our podcast, a podcast that we named Where Humanity Meets Technology, where we have a chance and a great opportunity to interview different business leaders around the world and talk about how they are using either technology or processes in their organization, not only for the betterment of their employees, but to get faster service for their customers and also to improve the efficiency. And everybody wants to improve the bottom line. Today in our virtual studios, we are very happy to welcome Artug Acar to our podcast. Artug, how are you today?
Great, Mars. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great, great. And you are the Chief Operating Officer over at Mercury, correct? I want to
Okay.
make sure I have that correct.
Yes. Yep, I
Great.
am at Mercury Business Services. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Mercury Business Services. Thank you for that. And I just want to make sure that everybody talking to a CEO, the CEO, and that's one of my favorite positions for when I talk to different organizations because they know everything that's going on in the organization. So R2,
Yep.
welcome to the virtual podcast. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks, Mars. Thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So R2, let's start with if you can give us a little bit of background as to how you actually joined and why you joined Mercury and some of the what led up to that decision. And tell us a little bit about your background, and so we can
Sure.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I have an engineering background. I studied mechanical engineering. Then soon after I moved to the US, I moved into software development. And then I moved to software and mechanical engineering combination automation, warehouse automation system. So I worked at Amazon Robotics as a technical program manager. So that was my first role, moving away from engineering to more business and a combination of software plus mechanical engineering, uh, more hardware systems along with software. Then I got into warehouse automation, logistics. I worked at several startups in Boston area around automation, primarily warehouse automation systems. And right before Mercury, I was at Right Hand Robotics. We were doing piece picking, developing piece picking technology for warehousing. And when I was there, I heard about Mercury. I talked to the new owner of Mercury, Josh Meadow, and it was a great opportunity at the time because it was an uncovered opportunity for the industry since the acquisition or the restructuring started in 2020 when Josh bought the company from the founders and they retired in 2020. The company has been in a restructuring phase and it has been evolving since then. The story was very compelling and convincing, to be honest, and I thought we can really do a lot in here. The company has been around since 1984. They did a great job, and then with the Signature Act, Digital Signature Act, the company started moving towards healthcare life science companies because initially they were working with law firms, and up until 2000s, physical signature was the main form of signature. But then with the Digital Signature Act, then companies moved away from papers documents. So then Mercury started focusing on healthcare life science. And with the restructuring in 2020, we primarily started focusing on healthcare life science. We retained our existing clients, but healthcare life science focused, all our sales force was towards that goal. And because Cambridge is the hub for healthcare life science companies, primarily for research, we are really right across the river. So we are next to our client base. And there's a big opportunity that's uncovered and still uncovered, to be honest. It's a big market. And since then, I've been working at Mercury. I joined as the VP of product to rebuild the technology for the company. And then I moved into my new role in 2023, January 2023. Since then, I've been here running multiple functions, responsible for different facets of the business. But overall, it's a growing business. So let me tell you a little bit about Mercury, like what exactly we do. We are like a freight forwarder, freight broker, primarily for healthcare life science companies. And we focus on three markets, life science, medical devices, diagnostic kits, and life science research. And those are three markets within healthcare life science. Medical devices, those are like MRI machines, or machines that test blood. And then diagnostic kits, those are the type of things. During COVID time, we did lots of COVID tests. And then life science research, there are three phases: research and development, clinical trial, and then pharmaceutical production. So we cover all these bases. We do business globally, so we can ship to and from anywhere in the world. Time and temperature sensitive shipping. So basically, the type of things that we ship, you cannot really put a price tag on them. That's like they are very valuable for research purposes, if it's life science research, or a medical device that needs to be at a hospital, at a medical center, and it has to be there at that date and in a good condition. If this is like a reagent, it has to be kept under a certain temperature. Then we maintain that temperature throughout that transfer. We have a software that supports all of this, but in essence, it's a services company. So we have a services organization function in Columbus, Ohio. So a team of support specialists, we call them squads, guides, and they work with our clients one-to-one. And they use the software to be able to track the shipments, identify if there are any exceptions, any issues along the way. The software also helps our clients to initiate their shipment, to track their shipment, to communicate with our teams, to make payments down the road. So it's a full suite. It's almost like a transportation management system. Like you have something to ship, you initiate it, and you track all the way until it gets to its final destination. And we can do this globally. We are an asset-free company, which makes us very flexible. Asset-free meaning we don't have trucks, we don't have airplanes, ships, but we have a global network of all of these transportation services. So we work with any carrier. If you want to ship something to Uganda, pick a country, like we can do it. It's we have a network. We have a network in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, America, South America, everywhere. And depending on your needs, we make the best recommendation for our clients. So if you are not, you may not be a logistics expert. You are working in a lab, or you're a lab manager. You need this item to be shipped from A to B. Then you talk to us, our guides, our squads. They let you know what's the best form of shipping, best way to ship that item from point A to point B. We can optimize based on their needs. And it's almost like they insource a logistics function into their company rather than outsourcing, because we become part of their team. So that's pretty much what we do in a nutshell. Yeah.
You said, Artug, you said a lot there. There's so many questions. I'm trying to envision this. So let me paint it this way. So I'm thinking of this. You are a life sciences company, and let's say you have like plasma or heart or whatever the case would be, something very critical that has to be. We're talking about extreme just in time. It's got to be at a certain location at a certain date and time. So let me ask you a couple of questions with that. My first thought was that they'll call one of your members, one of the squad members, and they say, okay, based off of this information here, this is the best way that we can actually transport that for you. So how does it work? Because you own no planes, so you don't have to worry about the plane part. You don't have to worry about that kind of overhead in that particular case.
Right.
How do you work, for example, when it's like winter time and you have to ship from one location to another location, and then you have the elements? There's things that you can't control. How do you guys work in that particular case? Do you just wait until you know for sure that that plane is going to leave at that particular time? Or you say, you know what, based off of what we're seeing right here, this plane and this location, this airport would be our best option. How do you guys go back and make that decision?
Yeah. So because Mercury has been around for more than 40 years, we have tons of data that we can utilize, which then means if you are going to ship from point A to point B, and if it's December, we know around that time if you use this method of transportation, it will be a problem. But if you use the other method, then it will be a better way. So we optimize based on weather conditions, and we make the best recommendation for our client. Maybe ground is not the best option for those two locations around the winter times. So we make another recommendation, or we change the route. Let's say you can't really predict exactly how the weather will be, right? Even though you have tons of data. If something changes in the last minute, we have the flexibility to reroute our carrier to make sure that that package arrives at that destination at the promised time. So we have close contact with our carriers, even though they are not our carriers per se, but they work with us very closely. So we have full control on the carrier side. That's why we can determine what's the best method initially, and if things need to change, we can adapt very quickly. And because the squad is strongly tied to the client, the squad or the guide really owns that client. It's not like a 1-800 number, someone randomly pick up the phone and try to help you. The squad knows the client knows the squad, they know exactly what's being shipped, where it's gonna arrive, what conditions it needs to be kept. So they own that shipping until it arrives to its destination. We proactively track the shipment. Let's say it's not like we just ship and now forget about it and then try to resolve the problem. We proactively ship, like every 15 minutes, we go and track if the item is let's say point A to point B, but you know it's gonna stop at point C. And now, if it doesn't arrive at point C at 11 a.m., then it means there is a problem. Then we start proactively reaching out to the carrier and figuring out what went wrong. Well, how can we mitigate that problem? So, like, we treat every package as if it's our child. Like, we track them very closely.
Interesting. And you mentioned that you have the data, so you guys have all this data that you combined over the years. So you have a really great probability, and you have all the statistics to say we know the probability of this actually getting on time, and you can pretty much look at that and you can tell what's going to. You can. It's like your predictability is very high. It seems like because you know.
Exactly. Yes, and we are baking that data into our software, so then the software will be able to predict what might happen throughout that transfer and what's the best form of transportation. So that's the next level. We are going to incorporate that machine learning AI capabilities into our software. So then it will be readily available to our clients as well.
Okay, great. Here in the States, we just had a strike with some of the shipping locations, and I know that's really not directly impacting you, but it still kind of it does impact you indirectly. And when you see you have that background experience from with Amazon, you mentioned about robotics and everything, so you can actually look at a shipping port, a dock port, and you can pretty much look at that and say, okay, here's how Singapore does it, here's how this country do it. You can actually I mean, I don't think it's like directly tied to you, but is it indirectly tied to you when you come to that particular part of the of your business there, or is it pretty much not?
The strike, I mean, fortunately, it got suspended, but the way we don't do much ocean shipping, so that's why it didn't impact us a ton. But if it had continued, it might have impacted the cost of shipping through air cargo, because probably they were going to be shifted towards air. The freight prices might have gone down, but it's really not impacting us in that regard. Yeah.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining that. You know, one of the other things you talk about the data, you also mentioned that you guys do a lot of R&D, and I know there's a lot of data that goes into like research and development there. And can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing with R&D? Are you applying anything like artificial intelligence to the R&D? What are some of the processes that you guys are doing so you can actually do more with R&D, so you can even be more proficient and even more on time for your clients?
Right. So the main phase that we developed so far and available to our clients is the basics of shipping, the fundamentals of shipping. You come, you tell us what you want to ship, and then we make recommendations based on what you want to ship and from and where you are shipping it to. After that, we provide the capabilities to track and figure out any exception that might happen along the way. And once it arrives to the destination, then you can make the payment. But the intelligent part comes into play when you need to know what's the estimated time of arrival of that shipment if you want to ship that item from Boston to London. And it's going to go through this airline at this time of the year. You are going to use this transportation method to get to the airline, this service, and then from the, let's say, Heathrow Airport to the final destination in London, you are going to use another carrier. Because we have all the information, prior data, we can pretty accurately predict what time it will get there. Then we can inform our client. So that's the phase that we are working on right now. It's not fully developed yet, but that's the machine learning piece that we are gonna bake into our software. The other one is route planning. So we do multiple types of shipments. It can be NFO, next flight out. So this is more like you want to ship something from Boston to, let's say, Atlanta, and you want it to be there this afternoon. So we can't put it on the plane right away. Or you want to ship something within Boston or within your city. It's from town A to town B. This is called more like same day shipping within the same area. Then we have local ground carriers, and we can then figure out the best path for our ground carriers to pick up packages from point A to take it to point B. We also do consolidation. So let's say we have hundreds of clients in Cambridge area, and we want to pick packages from them. We consolidate it in our location in Boston, and then FedEx or UPS or any other carrier that we work with, they pick up from us. So with that consolidation, routing becomes even more important because you need to plan what time you are going to pick up each package from each location and what route you should follow according to the time and the traffic congestion at that time of the day in Boston, in Cambridge. Then you tell the driver where to go first and then where to go next. So that's very critical that we are tackling with that problem today. It's really all about optimization and resolving exceptions.
Oh, I can see that. When you mentioned, you just answered one of my questions. I was thinking in the back of my mind, I was going to ask you a question. How do you actually, once it arrives at the the city that you wanted to go to, I was going to ask, do you actually have your own people that pick the product up? And I think you just answered that you have carriers that take it from there, or depending on what kind of how urgent that the product has to be there, you'll have
Right.
FedEx or one of the big UPS or one of DHL, one of those guys take it over from there. So you don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And what differs us from others is those carriers are our partners. So they are fully vetted. They are not like Mercury employees, but they are like Mercury employees. We know them by name. We vet everyone who work with us, who touches our packages, literally. We have been working with them very closely. So that's why it's not just someone on the street carrying your package. It's almost like a Mercury employee working with you. We work with companies like healthcare life science companies who do organ transplantation. So we transport materials and machines for them. So like those are high touch, or they require white glove service. So we can't really just work someone on the street. That's why we vet them very, very well. Yeah.
So Artug, how does that work for you in your role? Because as a COO, you have to have a pretty much a vision actually on all the different touches. So you're probably working with the sales team, working with the marketing team, definitely working with R&D, all these different elements that you have to work with there. So do you have to travel all over the world, calls all the time? And do you actually, second part of that question would be, do you actually have to go out there and visit with, for example, a conglomerate of a hospital and say, hey, look, here's some of the additional services that we can provide? What
Mhm.
is your role in that? Because sounds like that's pretty extensive being an international company.
Right. Yes. From time to time, we visit our clients. We touch base with our clients very often, mostly our sales team. And with some of the clients, we reach out to them as the leadership team, me, our CEO, VP of operations, head of sales. We get very close to our clients to understand their problems and really anticipate things before it happens and understand their needs. Travel wise, I travel some, not a ton. These days, everything is digital. People on Zoom, we have meetings, but we are very close to our clients. We meet with our clients on a regular basis. And as is, yes, in this role, in this capacity, I need to deal with so many things, like from sales to marketing. But we have a good leadership team, and everyone is really. We hire really smart people. It's not like we are telling them what to do; they tell us what should be done. So that makes my role simpler, easier in a way. But still, it's a ton of responsibility, of course.
This is a really good case study for when the title of our podcast is Where Humanity Meets Technology.
Mhm.
And now we touched on how humanity benefits from the technology that you guys have deployed out there. And I like
Mhm.
how you actually give us a vision as to what you're working on right now to go to take it to another level. I would think that right now that uh, streamlining your process even more, be even more predictable,
Mhm.
just what the numbers will be like a really really great goal. How do you get to like 99.9 or something like that with the on-time delivery? Would that be a good way to state it, and in a way saying how do we actually do get those devices and get that, especially when we talk about organs with the humans, that's a very very critical element. Is that one of your main goals? So how do we get to this particular number?
Right. So there are things that we can control and there are things that we cannot control. For the things that we can control, we want to get to that 99.99% uh, accuracy, quality, and time of arrival. For the things that we cannot control in terms of shipping, then we would like to get better at predicting those issues before they happen. So that's where our focus is. We are getting a lot better in terms of making sure the packages are in good condition and they get to their destination in time. We are still working on predicting if something might go wrong along the way. We can have mitigation strategies so we can act pretty fast when something happens, but the better approach is to predict before it happens. So we are still working on that area. Yeah.
Excellent. I have two more questions for you. And I don't know if you have this or not, but it would be interesting to see this. Do you guys have like a big, like a network operating center where you can actually see like on a really big board, all the different packages that they're tracking? You can see like percentage or in flight and arrived. And do you have something like that there?
We have a plan to have that control center, a
Mhm.
big room, huge screen. We have people in Columbus, they can see every single package on the map. They can track that. But I know what you mean. I was visiting one of our clients in organ transplantation. They do organ transplant and they have this control center. So, yes, we would like to build one of those control centers in the next few years. Yes.
I can see that. You can see that right there.
Yep.
It's visible.
Yeah.
And then you
Yep.
can even, and you may see something that may pop up in a different color, like or yellow or something. Is it maybe we
Yes.
need to look at this and you can kind of zone in on it?
We have a digital control center, like everyone can use it on their laptop. We don't have that big room yet,
Uh,
but they can track every single package through our software on the control center. Yes.
that's awesome. Awesome. So
Yeah.
then my last question to you would be, and I'm thinking about this as a COO, and you could think about how technology can get better. What
Mhm.
would you say that you would like to envision your operations like 3 years from now? I know I don't want to go even further than that because everything is rapidly changing so fast now, especially with the augment of AI coming into the picture. how would you like to see, what would something that you were saying, this would be like we just talked about that operating center. What would be something that you would like to see in the next 3 years that it really separate you guys from your competitors?
Mhm. We would like to have more coverage within US. We have offices in New York, Chicago, California, in Boston, San Diego, and San Francisco in California. We want to expand our. We have services everywhere. We can ship to and from anywhere, but we want to have more presence in most of the major healthcare life science hubs in the US and expand globally. We can ship again to anywhere in the world, but we want to have more offices. We want to have more control on everything and be able to serve more clients, more companies globally. That's our goal, and we are getting there step by step. It's gonna take a few years. Yeah.
Well, this is great. I like this one, as I said earlier a few minutes ago. This is a really great example of humanity where you guys are using this technology to streamline processes to get to the next level. And you're saving lives, you're saving lives, and you're just the efficiency that you guys bring, and you're a trusted partner for all the people that you work with. They can rely on you. And that's pretty awesome.
Exactly. There's really life tied to every package in this industry. And the other day, I was talking to one of our engineers, new grad engineer. I said, "Why did you join Mercury? Like, we are not a very well-known company. We are not Facebook. We are not Google. What excites you about being here?" And his answer was, "I feel like we make a difference in people's lives." So I think that makes the biggest difference in working at Mercury and in this market, in this business.
Oh, this is great. R2, I want to thank you for joining the podcast with me. This is very enlightening, something very different, and I like this having this conversation because it just kind of relates to all the technology that we have out there, how you can actually apply it and how you could just take it to another level. Like we said, just what your engineer even confirmed that you can save lives with it. So
Yep.
we just want to thank you again.
Thanks, Morris. It's great to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you. So there you have it, folks. Artug Acar from Mercury, the Chief Operating Officer at Mercury, and we are so thankful to have him into our virtual studios today. R2, if you like to have somebody reach out to your organization, maybe they can use your kind of services. How would they reach your organization?
Yeah, the best way to reach out to us is shipmercury.com, and they can send any requests through that, and our squads will respond the same day.
Shipmercury.com.
Shipmercury.com. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if you like the podcast today, you folks, you can, like he said, you can always reach out to him or give me a call. I can always connect you guys to them. And we want to thank you. If you like the podcast, like it, and we'll have more for you. Thank you all, and catch you on the next one.
At Infinovate Consulting Group, your experts provide clients the latest advancement in technological changes, along with digital transformation and IT infrastructure consulting services. What makes us different? We deploy innovation that includes blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT. We also use a truly unique approach that we call PartnerVate, where we work collectively on designing, training, and implementation. And we expect only the highest level of customer service from every single person in your company. We are Infinovate, where infinite innovation is guaranteed.